Yes, I am Andrew Ledford, and today we're going to be just going over a little bit again about some of the things that I'm working on. As you know, I'm doing a series on dreams, and some people might think that's a little strange. Well, we spend a lot of our time sleeping. There's a book that I started browsing through last night that has been on my library, in my library on the bookshelves for probably 25 years at least. And it got me to thinking about how I'm going to start organizing some of my presentations and even the books that I write. And one of the things they were talking about is, where do we spend the majority of our time? And I was thinking, we spend a lot of it sleeping. So that is one good reason to explore dreams. And as I have started re-investigating this, as many of you know, years ago, actually for most of my life, I've done dream exploration. But recently I've started looking at Freud's theories. I've always discounted his theories to some extent, but because of the people I work with, I'm now starting to appreciate them more. And I will be incorporating them into other subjects that I write about. I think it's important to learn about them through dreaming, but I don't think that's the most important reason for becoming aware of some of Freud's ideas. I think it's in other aspects of life where they really come to this, where they're really suppressed. They don't come to the surface, but they need to. And this will make one of my longer sections, I'm sure, much longer. Most of the promotions and experiential marketing and videos I've been doing recently have been interesting in that they tend to highlight ideas that I think should work, but don't necessarily. They tend to extract the mismatches with reality. And I always find this both disturbing and interesting. But especially how I think that dog rescues should operate, in my mind. Apparently that is not the case. First of all, I thought most dog rescues would want publicity that didn't cost them anything, to be on cable TV. And what I have found is that most really do not want that. The other thing is, I have several locations where dog rescues could have rescue events, and it appears that dog rescues do not want new locations to have dog rescue events. And number three, I have it set up so that if I get real estate referrals and actually make a sale, I am willing to donate part of my commission to a dog rescue. And ideally the dog rescue that referred to me, but it could be any rescue. And while dog rescues are always saying they want donations, none of them really have done much to follow through with that line of thought either. So basically, all of the Dog Adopt Show all the premises for the Dog Adopt Show are basically a mismatch with reality. Probably the only thing I get out of it is that I get to do it and help dogs find homes. So it just costs me a lot of time Cost me money to help a lot of rescues, but I will continue doing it, and I'm still looking for rescues to work with, on my dime, of course. So that is the dog rescue update, the dog adopt show update, but I'm still looking for people to be on there. I still want to follow through with that and, you know, find homes for those dogs, the ones that, the unfortunate ones. Yes, and another thing, I have been recently going out and going to dog parks and talking to people, and going down to 2nd Street and talking to people to promote my dog training book. So usually, if I'm not training dogs or working with animals, I wear different pants. Today I have on my old gray BDUs. Usually have kind of a dress vest. This isn't dressed up for me, this is how I normally dress. And then I generally wear a tweed jacket over it, an English jacket. But I'm beginning to think that maybe people are a little intimidated by that. So I've decided to change. Challenge. I decided to change and start dressing a little bit more like I'm working dogs. So have a work vest, my BDUs, just not my dress hat, my regular work hat. And I think that this is an experiment. Everything's an experiment. So what got me thinking about this is I was in a really big hurry to leave the house one day. What was I doing? I was doing some project and just didn't have time to put on my vest. Had a shirt that if I'm wearing a vest is missing a button, so it doesn't really matter. But I forgot to put on my vest that day. But I went out sitting out there at a dog park, I think it was a dog park, talking to people, and more people came up to me on their own than ever have before. So this is how superstitious behaviors get started. Something happens, you're rewarded by it. You think, hey, there's a connection there, even though there might not be any connection. And then you start doing that more. And if you're rewarded again, you're reinforced, then you think, hey, this is the reason. And you go off down this road where there's, again, really kind of a mismatch with reality. It doesn't matter. I could be wearing a full suit and maybe they'd come up and do the same thing. But because of that one time, I'm now in this state of mind where I'm thinking, hey, maybe it's how I dress. Maybe I need to not dress up so much, even though, like I say, that's just normally how I dress. I don't think of it as dressed up. But I do find it interesting that that may be the beginning of a superstitious behavior. When I was in my 20s, probably about 20, I used to play the Star Wars arcade game. At first I just did it for fun, but then I started noticing myself developing so many superstitious behaviors while I was playing it that I started playing the game just to discover exactly how many of the things that I thought were rules were really just superstitious behaviors, because they were rewarded a couple times, even 2 or 3 times in a row. And then all of a sudden I'm playing the game as if that is how you were supposed to, when in reality it didn't matter. Okay, I think that will do it for today. I am wishing you the very best in life. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.